Hello and welcome to another edition of Athletes Corner. And today we have another throwback for you all. We have Lynn Tech, great 1,000-point club state champion, Mr. Miguel Soto, but everybody calls him Bolo. How are you doing, sir?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Glad to be here, my man.
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I see you got your state championship ring. Is that your state championship ring you got on there?
In case you see us swinging across the camera a couple of times, letting them know it's real.
Yeah, man. You guys were, a lot to talk about that run and your time over there at Lin Tech. But you guys, I think you guys were the cornerstone, or you guys were the foundation to start that run that Tech had of conference championships and state championship appearances. Can you just first talk about the years for you playing at Tech, just some of your memories there?
Well, our conference runs started actually, I want to say about 2 years prior to me actually playing varsity there. My freshman year, my brother in that class was winning it, which is Antonio Soto, Corey Foster, Joel Aguero, Omar, that class. I was an underclassman to their class my freshman year. And then we won it that year. Then we also won our conference my sophomore year when I started playing varsity full time. My junior year, we also won it. We basically kept a run going for those guys that were leaving their senior year, which we were the underclassmen to.
Mhm. Yeah.
So our conference, we basically won it for almost like 6 years, basically.
Yep. Yeah, can you just talk about that? From start year, from not being on varsity, or not being on varsity full time your freshman year, to then going to varsity, and then as you got more experience, as you got older, your roles kept increasing each year. Did you feel any pressure at all at first when you first started getting those minutes, or was it just kind of smooth for you because your brother was on varsity and you kind of saw like what he did and what his group did? And was it just easier for you just because you got to see them play and learn from them?
Well, most of my it was very easy for me, to be honest with you, because I never really played basketball with like my class. You know what I mean? I always played with upperclassmen as far as competition. As far as like my friends and all of that, yes, but I always was in the gym with older guys, as far as Anthony Anderson, my brother, obviously. And since I was a young player, I was playing CYO, and I've always played for Coach Avery, Marvin Avery. He's been coaching me since Parks and Recreation, so he's always had an eye on me, and he had his foot in the door at Lin Tech also, on top of my brother and all the other guys that I always hung around with, going to Lin Tech already. So when I was at Breed, I was already looking into going to Lin Tech. I was playing CYO basketball at St. Mary's with a couple of the guys like Ruskin Garcia, Limber Thomas. Then when I was in CYO going into my freshman year, I had an option rather to play varsity for Coach Ridley at the time. It was Coach Ridley coaching, and I believe Coach Avery was his assistant coach. I'm not too sure, but I know Coach Ridley was my brother in that class's coach. And I had the option to play there. But I was also a freshman, and it was my last year at CYO. So I made the decision to play JV basketball and play CYO basketball my final year, which we also won the championship there. I had a great championship run with CYO. I think we won like 2 years straight. So when CYO was over, I was able to already practice with varsity. I was playing the summer leagues with varsity already when my freshman year, going into my sophomore year. Like all that time, I was practicing with varsity already. I was already at their Sunday practices. I was mandatory, had to show up to those practices. Coach Avery, Coach Ridley, if I wanted to play a role with those guys, I had to show up to all their practices. So I was already practicing with them any chance I got. Sometimes I would stay late after our JV practice, which we would practice together, but there were also things that they would do after hours. And I would stay in the gym with them and ride home with my brother, obviously, because, so it was very easy for me to already like learn the system.
Yeah.
I was never like the background player. I was more of a captain. Every team I ever played on, I was always a captain, a leader. So it was already, I already felt a type of way of how I knew I was going to represent myself.
Mhm.
Like how I knew soon these guys were going to leave and I was going to have to take that role. So going into my sophomore year where I was playing certain minutes with the varsity team, I was playing my minutes, but not a lot. You know, I was holding my own. Like I got enough minutes, but I was already mixed in with that class.
Yeah.
So then Coach Avery ends up getting the head coaching job there. My junior, going into my junior year, like that summer really was done high school coaching. He went to a principal job, I believe, at Breed, I believe it was. Then Coach Avery, I was already one of the co-captains going into my junior year. I was actually the captain my junior year and my senior year. And we had a great run. Like we really didn't lose many games, honestly. Our style of basketball was one of a kind.
Yeah.
It wasn't like no hold back. You know, Coach Avery was very tough on us. Till this day, I thank that guy for what he's done and developed me as a player.
Yeah.
He's always been like a mentor to me since I was a young kid, and always believed in me no matter who I was playing against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I took on the varsity role already going into my sophomore year. You know what I mean? It was pretty good.
And you guys, and I know you talked to me about this before because you guys had made a run at the state title game, but you guys you lost that game. Is that
Yes.
I talked to Antonio about that. That was the same year he transferred over to Tech. Was that the same year he transferred over? First time you guys went to the state title?
No,
Or was it before?
no, I don't believe. I think Antonio transferred my senior year, the year that we won the championship, I believe.
Okay.
Because he didn't play, but he was on the roster. Because damn, I don't want to say that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because in the pictures he still had his jersey on over the sweater.
Yeah, because I remember he told me there was when he didn't play. He was there, but he couldn't play.
Yeah, he couldn't play for two schools in the same year.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
So he was on our roster, which also helped us a lot because he was able to practice with us. We was always pushing for him to come and play with us. Like we wanted him to play, but because of that MIA rule, he couldn't play that year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We talked about.
Oh no. I'm wrong because he played against East Boston with us. So our junior year, he didn't play.
Yeah, there was one year. Okay.
Our junior year, he didn't play. I'm sorry. Thank you. Because I didn't want to get that wrong. Because I would remember Antonio playing with us because he played against East Boston with us. Okay. So that was our senior year. He played our year that we won it. Yes, he did, I believe.
The year before, when
we lost it, he didn't play because he transferred.
Okay. What was that like adding him to you guys' roster? Because you guys had a pretty good team. You guys had, not pretty good team. You guys had a great complement of guys, a great group of guys, and then you add him, knowing with his skill set and what he brought to your team. What was that when he told you guys he was coming over?
To be honest with you, before Antonio came over, because we had guys like Jamal Thurmond, we had Streeter, we had James Anderson, we had Randy Espinal, we had Limber Thomas. You know, we had a lot of players. We had Jamal Sutton. We had a lot of guys down there, but Antonio was just built different. You know, we was excited for him to play because he was like a forward with a lot of power. You know what I mean? And that was when he was like breaking out of his shell also. You know, he was playing, but he wasn't playing comfortable. You know what I mean? So when he came to Tech, he like opened up and started playing comfortable and being comfortable with the system. Not to mention Coach Avery, obviously, being family, they have a very close bond. But Antonio was never an underclassman. In my eyes, he was never an underclassman. He was breaking out of his shell. He was very comfortable. I was comfortable with playing with him. And he helped us a lot. He definitely helped us a lot. It took him a while to learn the system because obviously he came from being top player. I think it was at English. We had no such thing in our year. We had no such thing as a top player. Yeah, but he was a very good help, and I'm upset that I didn't remember that he played with us our senior year. But it was a mix-up because he came in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
And our junior year, the grind was the same as our senior year.
Yeah.
Like we know we can do this, so we had our same state of mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it all kind of like blended in for me because I had the same mission throughout those 2 years. You know what I mean? My sophomore year, I was more of an underclassman, but I knew what we had coming into our junior year. Yeah. And then when you don't accomplish what you want your junior year, there's no excuses why you shouldn't accomplish it your senior year.
And you just named some guys too. You named Antoine Streeter, you named Jamal Thornton and Lambert Thomas. Just named some guys. I mean, can you just talk about Jamal Thornton? He was also, you and him scored 1,000 the same year, correct?
Actually, it's a funny story, man. Because Jamal Thornton was a special guy when it came to this basketball. He fixed my jumper. I never had a jumper, never in my life. But if you come and try to play defense on me, I'm gonna score. I'll go around you. I had a lot of different ways of scoring, but he put it in my head I needed to shoot. And he would make me stay late and shoot from the corner, make me move, shoot, fix my form and everything. Jamal, we won a lot of games because of Jamal buzzer shots. Mm-hmm. I don't even think he realizes it, but we won a lot of games. I think we beat St. Mary's. I fouled out with like 30 seconds left. He hit a half court buzzer beater. Watertown tournament. We went up there and played in the tournament. He hit a buzzer beater. I fouled out. I had a lot of foul out problems because I would cover the main guy. There was no such thing as the other player being defended by someone else. It was me. I took that role. So a lot of times I would foul out, but it was because of that responsibility I had to lock down those players. Jamal, yeah, he changed the whole mentality of our game. Also on defense, I mean, we used to press with Lambert, Jamal, and me up front. And if I wasn't in the front, we would have James Anderson up front, and I would take the middle. I mean, the defense intensity and the way that Jamal.
Y'all did all game, correct?
There was no such thing as, we're up 40 points, stop pressing. If anything, we would drop down to a red, which was a half court press, where you kind of just slow down the ball as it's coming up. And the thing about Jamal was that he was very intense, so he would hold you accountable for your mess ups, or if people are scoring too much on you. So him and Streeter would go at it a lot. If Streeter would do something down low, or let somebody get away with certain things down low, he would tell him like how big he is and he needs to use his muscles and stuff like that, which was never really a problem, but he needed a lot of reminders, So that was the thing about our team. We would all, I would call it pick on each other, but we was on each other's back because we had a goal, we had a mission. Yeah. We wasn't like playing around about this, you know what I mean? So a lot of guys played their roles, We had guys that would just, that kept us happy and keep our mind off of just always being intensity, you know what I mean? Everybody played a different role. That's why there's no such thing on the years I was there was no such thing as main players. Back to the 1,000-point scoring situation. The reason I say it's funny is because I had a chance to score my 1,000 points a long time ago. Prior to the state tournament, I could have scored my 1,000 points. If you ask anybody who played basketball with me, my years at Tech, right? I never cared about that. That was never my goal. I used to always tell people. I remember I had before the state tournament, I had 60-something points to score to get my 1,000 points. I remember, I think it was Rob, Rob, the hall monitor.
Rob Smith?
Yes, Rob Smith, exactly. Rob came up to me and he tells me, "Hey, this is how close you are," because we got to a point where everybody wanted to check how close they were, or the case may be. And he told me how close I was. I literally told him, "I don't care. I don't care about none of that." And he went and he told everybody on the team that story. He told them, like, "Listen, you guys all need to have this type of mentality, you know." And this is like right before playoffs, like, so I missed 1,000 points by 8 points. I was out of the championship game with about 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
You telling me I couldn't get my 1,000 points?
Yeah.
I never cared about that. I gave Jamal. I had a wide open layup. I turned around and gave Jamal a pass, and he hit a 3-pointer. That was his 1,000 point.
Okay.
They got it on video. I never cared about that. But every other award that you can accomplish, I have that. You know, as a team, like MVP or I think it was Boston Globe, all that, All-Stars, all those other things that came naturally to me all became because I had a grind of winning the championship. So the points and the personal stats to me was never a goal. The goal for me was always to let people know how I play defense, let people know how serious I was about this basketball stuff, and that we are going to represent ourselves with the name on our shirt. There was nobody who came to us and walked all over us. Not even, I believe we lost 3 games my senior year. 2 of those games was to East Boston, to Will Blaylock, who also went on to play in the NBA, was one of the biggest players to ever come out of Boston. We lost to them twice. And another team was Jeremiah Burke, I believe it was, a school out in Boston.
Burke.
Right. We lost to East Boston by like 8 points because of free throws at the end. The next game, I think we lost by 5. Jeremiah Burke, I believe we lost by 12, I believe it was. And that was like we met at a neutral court. So I believe we played them in Chelsea.
Okay.
But besides that, we played as a team, and it was a grind, you know. It was a grind.
You talk about just, you know, there was a moment in your last year, you guys, there was a special moment. Lynn Classical, Lin Tech, when it goes to the Garden. I don't even know when the last time, if that's ever happened. I know Lynn English and Classical played last year, but that was the first round of the playoffs. But I don't know in the history of Lynn hoops if there's been a moment where 2 Lynn schools are facing off in the North final to get in the Garden.
Yes, we played. Wow, that's a crazy story.
And I remember that because there was so much talk around the city for that. Everybody was so excited for that. Just everybody going up to Lowell to watch that game. I remember that. I remember that week leading up to that game because everyone was so excited. Lynn Tech, Lynn Classical, and it was more special because everybody on each team pretty much grew up together, played ball with each other their whole lives. So and now it's just right here.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Like we were cheering each other on, which is the funny thing. This topic is crazy because I had all my Dominicans and everything in the crowd with the flags, everything, you know. It was a very good time for Lynn. Everybody from Lynn showed up to that game, like you said. The craziest thing about this is we cheered each other on. The whole time we cheered each other on, like, you better beat this team, you better beat this team, we better beat this team, until about that week or a couple of days stretch that you get that you know that you're gonna play them. Like, oh, they made it this far, you made it this far, now you have to play each other. Now it became, oh, we don't know each other. In our locker room, it became, we don't know each other. We're playing against ourselves. But the crazy thing is that you got to understand, this team had people like Will Blaylock. I mean, not Will Blaylock, sorry. Will Brogdon, Dorian Brown, I believe Tony Seafor, JoJo. These are guys that not only did I play basketball with, I grew up with these guys. These are guys that I met when I first moved to Lynn, when I was a baby. These are guys I played at the Greg House with, Warren Street Park at. Like Warren Street Park made me, and that's who I used to play basketball with. And then to think like, oh, I have to beat these guys in order to get to what I've been focused on for 2 years, you know. And Dorian, I played at Breed with Dorian. Me and Dorian played basketball at Breed together. You know, some of these guys I played on the YMCA team with together. And then to make it as far as we did and play against each other was amazing, because we would see each other, you know, bus stops or walk into the same stores and talk about it to each other. Like, oh, watch when we play, watch when we play, watch. It was a very intense, but it was also a good time for Lynn, because everybody was there, you know, everybody was there, you know. So everybody was represented.
You remember, like, could you vividly remember the entire atmosphere of just that game?
Oh, the atmosphere about that game, it was like, oh, some of the underclassmen who played with me were looking at it like they were playing against guys that, you know, they got to prove themselves to, or guys that are like, oh, I'm better than you, or, you know, you can't cover me because of this, or you can't do this because, you know, on top of me being the same age as these guys. And I could have went to classical. I could have went to classical, and I didn't go to classical. I went to Tech with Coach Avery. But the atmosphere was just, it got to a serious point. You know, it got to a point where we had our practice, going through our practice, and we're putting jerseys on people, pennies on people, so they can act like certain players. And you could see it in the practice there. We're like, oh, you're this guy, do this crossover. Every time you get the ball, do this crossover. And, you know, we're in practice acting out how we're going to play in the game. And we're thinking our defense intensity is going to be on a whole nother level, because we can't even let these guys score on us. You know, it was, everything had to be right to play against classical. Because another thing is, the only way that Lin Tech and classical would see each other was in city tournaments. We always made it to the final, but classical didn't. So we always wanted to play against teams like classical. We wanted to play against teams like English. English played against Tech. That was in the Jamboree back when Anthony Anderson played. You know, he played against Corey Foster and stuff like that, but they didn't play us. We tried to set it up a couple of times, but they didn't play us. So when we got a chance to really play against another Lynn team, it was wartime. And our defense, we played our defense the whole game until we had the win for sure. And when we had the win, it was like, when we walked off that court, it was almost like a happy but not happy moment, because now you're looking at guys that you wish they also won a ring, but they're on another team. Like, you wish that they would have made it to the next level, but they were on the other team. So everything goes out the door. I mean, these are guys I used to go to their house and eat. They used to come to my house and eat. My mom knew them by the first name. I knew their mom by the first name. And then we playing against each other. It was amazing. I really, really loved that year. That was a great year for us, and for classical too. You know, classical did very good that year. They did. They made it all the way to the Songus Arena. That's where we played them at.
And you talked to me about this your senior year, how you guys were so upset for losing in the state title game the previous year, that when you guys came back, it was just, we're blowing everybody out. Nobody's gonna keep up with us. This is it. We don't want to have that feeling of losing in the state title again. We're just gonna blow everybody out. And you guys went out and did that. So can you just talk about that year, and just when you guys finally got back there and brought it back and brought it to the city? Because I think that might have been the first state. I don't know, the first state title.
It's 1972 or something like that.
Yeah,
period in any sport. I think it was at Tech.
Yeah, so when you guys brought that back to Tech, can you just talk about just, you know, how you guys were feeling that your group of guys, you and your group of guys, your friends that you grew up with, were able to accomplish that?
I'm gonna start with the day I lost that thing. The day we lost that championship, that we got on that bus and had to drive home, it was it was tough because we knew we could have beat that team, but I believe they had some Twin Tower guys on that team. It was tough. It had some twin. It was I believe it was Frontier or something like that. They had some tall Twin Tower guys on the team, and we lost that game, and immediately we all knew that we lost that game to ourselves. Basically, it was very hard to even deal with that for a while. When the summer came, we were practicing at the YMCA. We were practicing at courts. We literally had each other's numbers and we're hanging out like if we lived next door to each other. But no, we had Jamal coming from the other side. We had guys that had to take buses to get to even a playground for us to play. We would host practices in front of Breed, and Coach Avery wouldn't even know. We would. It was a point where Limber, it would be me, Limber, and Jamal Thornton. Even though there's only three of us, we would drive to Swampscott and play against people. Peabody to play against people. Salem to play against people. It was a whole different grind. We hung out. We built the chemistry. It was always the conversation. I was a captain my junior year, but I believe I was really, really, really a captain my senior year. Because even though everybody was a friend of mine, I held everybody responsible. Like, why wasn't you in class? If something happened, why? It was just different. There was no such thing as, when you're done with this suicide, you better be tired. If you're not asking for a break, then you're not into it. There was a lot of grind that came behind it. We practiced more than ever. It was a point where Coach Avery was leaving the gym and we were still there. Coach Donald used to show up to our basketball practices still in his state uniform, on, and make us practice defense for a straight hour. Slides, everything. We had also a couple of players that joined us, like my friend Brian Berry, big guy, big guy. You wouldn't even think he played basketball, but we would make sure if we had to run.
Brian, I know Brian.
Yeah. If we ran laps, we would start laps together and end them together. We would do suicides together. You miss a free throw, you're doing a suicide. You miss another free throw, you're doing push-ups. It was different. Nobody wanted to go home. There was not, to be honest with you, the reason why I have a problem with my senior year schedule is because every game, we didn't care who we was playing against. We would say we're playing against ourselves. If we lose, we're losing against ourselves. Like, there was no holding back. If you were supposed to dunk the ball, you were supposed to dunk the ball. If you don't dunk the ball, we clowning you. We making you feel like you have to come down there and dunk the ball. You have to be aggressive. Our intensity was turned up like 100 notches when we went back. There was no such thing as taking days off. We played in every league, every tournament that we could join, we played in it. Throughout the summer, throughout the school year. That's how we ended up playing the Watertown tournament, because Coach Avery put us in Watertown tournaments. Coach Avery scheduled us against a team that came down here from Miami. We played that team in Chelsea. Their point guard was like 6'7". Just the point guard alone. That team was supposed to come down here and kill us. We smacked them dudes by like 40. Like, there was nobody that we really was worried about, because our mentality was the ring. We lost it. The best thing that happened to us was that we lost it because we didn't get comfortable. Every game was a mission. Every game was a grind. Coach Avery was honest. We even used to have sleepovers so we could build chemistry. You know what I mean? We would go from the boys club to the YMCA. I mean, from the YMCA to the boys club, because they would close and we would have to go somewhere else to go to another gym. a lot of our players used to sleep over my house a lot, just because we had to and walk to school or just to be together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, sometimes me, Limber, and Jamal would drive around just to find parks to build chemistry amongst us three if we had to. You know, little things like that that came into play our senior year, that it was like none of us lived any other life except for basketball.
Yeah.
And Coach Avery would give us, Coach Avery at the YMCA would have us there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that gym was ours till 12. Like no one could go in that gym except for us. And we would start in the weight room and work our way up. The weight room, the track, remember, was all upstairs in the YMCA. We would spend an hour in there and everybody would have to go to do their sets in every single thing. Coach Avery would leave us in there. And as a team, Coach Avery would trust us to not cheat ourselves. And that really like sunk into our heads, where he would leave to go to the office, be on a phone call, and we would still have the same intense practice. Yeah. There was no, because Coach Avery turned his back, we're going to act lazy and, you know, not touch the line when we run a suicide or any little thing. You know, that's one thing about that team that I always remember. There was no such thing as people like lacking off or someone trying to be lazy, because you couldn't be, because the grind was different. You know, it was different. You was held accountable for what you're doing. And I believe that because we all had the same chemistry and all used to hang out and spend a lot of time with each other and even playing on basketball, just, you know, playing 31 or whatever the case may be, we would learn how to pass to each other when someone's going to cut, what someone was used to doing, what someone's game really is. You know, it came a point in time where you wouldn't even see Limber literally around on the court, but if you pass the ball to the corner where he always was, Limber would be right there. And his jumper started getting unbelievable to a point where we counted on him being in that corner. Yeah, we won some Lynn tournaments because Limber's shooting from that corner. You know what I mean? Like, and when you learn that type of chemistry, because you're doing extra stuff, not because the coach is making you show up to practice, it's because you're just playing out in the parks with each other. You learn that chemistry and it carries on to the court. You know, and we used to challenge each other a lot. We used to play a lot of king of the court at the end of practices. It don't matter if it was free throws or one-on-ones. We used to do a lot of different things that I don't know if it's still around. You know, I see a lot of, and it's all love, I see a lot of these teams, they're winning, but they're winning by 10, 15. You know, it's like they care about the opponent. We never cared about our opponent. Our scores, besides those 3 games, which we grinded those games also, but our opponents, our games were a large spread because of our grind, because of our coach. Coach Avery was really a tough coach, but very understandable. And then you got Coach Donald, who was the defensive coach, so you couldn't sleep on it. I think he's coaching now at St. Mary's or something like that.
One of the assistants over there.
Right? So I mean, to show you, all these teams that are winning and have coach staffs on those teams, most of those people are all linked to my 2001, 2002 team, linked with Coach Avery, because they still all carry the same mentality. You know what I mean? Because it's stuck in their head, the grind that we had that year. Some of those coaches are even coaching girls at English. You know, because they all remember the fun and the grind that comes with this game from back in those days. Coach Mack, I believe, coaches the girls, right? We had Coach Freddie. Fred Hogan was on the coaching staff. Antonio obviously played with us. Look at the success he's having at Lynn English. Salute to that man. I mean, all these people come from our years. So that's why I respect what's going on in Lynn. You know what I mean? I understand what's going on in the competition level. I love all of that, you know, and I salute all those guys because all those guys played a role in our success. You know what I mean? I don't care if it was from the water boy to the assistant coach to the head coach. Everybody played a role, and they all still have a big impact in the city right now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Eh,
What is well, we just got a few more minutes left here. It's been going by quick. What is your lasting memories of of just that whole run, and also just talk about some of those guys that came after you guys, like Corey Bingham, Tony,
Oh,
Snap.
oh,
You
I
know,
like that first name you said.
yeah, those guys came. They came after you. They came after you. Those were the guys that came after you guys, and they continued that. They continued it. They kept it going too. Just talk about how those guys saw you guys and just kept it going.
Oh yeah, we had Corey Bigham was I believe a freshman, and he used to come in and hit his threes. You know, he had a good impact. We would come in and play a few minutes as an underclassman. So he started off, and then I believe we also had. I also coached a couple of those guys too, like Tony Gallo and those guys when I was back over there. But Corey, I think we left James, Randy Espinal was there. Wow, I can't really remember all the guys, but yeah, I mean they had a great run after that too, I believe.
Yep.
I believe those underclassmen had a great run after that. To be honest, one of my greatest memories at Tech was watching the clock ticking when we had the championship won already with like 10 minutes left. It was planned. I know it might sound a little bit crazy, but it was planned. If you ask some of my friends or some of the guys that were playing in that year, I literally told those guys, like, listen, I don't even want to be playing in the last 5 minutes of this game. And we made that possible because we knew that we was going to go in there and not hold back. That was one of my best memories, just making it back to where I wanted to make it back to, because I always remember losing, but I wanted something to overpower the loss, and that win overpowered the loss, the grind, everything, you know. So that was one of my greatest memories. And also one of my greatest memories was seeing Coach Avery's face when they gave him that MIAA championship trophy on the court, and he raised it up in the air. It was a great feeling because I know where he comes from. I know how much he cared about the kids and how much he did for the kids. I mean, this is a coach that was picking up players to take them to school because, you know, he was already at work. He would come by the school on normal days in the middle of the days just to check on his players, make sure everybody was good, you know. And to see him raise that trophy was also one of the greatest memories, since he coached me since I was a young kid, you know what I mean? And I always told him that, like, we're gonna get this, we're gonna do this, and he always trusted me, you know what I mean? And me and him never really bumped heads. He did yell, but we never really bumped heads, and I just felt good about getting him that trophy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, man. Oh man, we was coming to an end over here. Hey man, I want to
Yeah,
thank you for coming along, telling
yeah,
going down memory lane with me. It was a good
always.
that was a good time. If folks want to follow you, please plug in your social media.
Um, my social media is so what on Instagram, and I just want to thank you, man. I appreciate what you're doing for the city. I appreciate you giving a light to Lin Tech. There's a lot of great players that came out of that school, and they're going to continue to come from that school as long as we pay attention. Yeah, and besides that, shouts out to my 2002 state champs. All love, guys. I ain't seen a lot of you guys in a while, but it's all love.
All right, no doubt. You guys have been watching Athletes Corner. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.